It's early. I know, and I know Tom had talked about this thing too, is we have to get more physical, and we're working on it every day. We understand what we need to do. So I think that's been a big point of emphasis, and kids are working, trying to work through it. It's different for them. There is a lot of contact, but the one thing I've been impressed with is they're trying to push through it. Where a lot of times you get a new staff in, and there might be some defiance, and some people are trying to analyze things. They're not doing that at all. They're trying. They're giving us everything they got. They just have to get accustomed to the way that we train.
What little we've seen, Brecken and Malik together inside.
Yeah.
Is that something you want to try a while going forward?
Oh, yeah, that's what we came into it, and it was an evaluation off of last year's film and an evaluation off of winter conditioning, and Brecken brings a certain type of physicality in there, and I'd like for that middle linebacker position to be that. Malik has, obviously some tools to do some unique things at that position, and Nate's an older guy that gets it, and that's we decided, but there's no spots there. I mean, we have so much of camp that's left. We haven't really technically put the ball down in scrimmage. We'll do that on Saturday.
Yeah.
And every play and every day they're getting evaluated. So, but you got to put somebody out there. So those are the three.
Have you used Fowler inside or outside, and what's been your impression?
Yeah, we're using him inside right now. So Eric is a work in progress, but Eric is physical. And Eric's just learning, so we're going to start him off inside.
What did you see about him that made you want to go inside as opposed to outside?
Just he's a thumper. He's a physical kid, understands leverage, and like I said beforehand, I want that middle linebacker spot to run and hit. So that was the reason.
On Tuesday, it was brought up that last year this team didn't have any defensive or special teams touchdowns. How do you fix the defensive side of that?
I don't know. To me, the biggest part is just finishing plays. I mean, there's some opportunities out there, and we work it. We do it in pursuit, and kids got to get excited to get the ball in their hands, but you also have to block for them, and that's a piece of it. But the special team stuff comes with execution. The defensive stuff comes with execution. People make mistakes, and you got to make them pay for it. So, the stuff that happened at Houston was kind of a collection of the pressure that we do. And some of the guys that get the ball in their hands back there are very explosive. And, when you have only 5 skill guys on offense and a quarterback to tackle them, because we should be able to outrun offensive linemen, you should make big plays when you get the ball in your hands. So we'll see.
Who or what position in your mind is kind of like the defensive quarterback? Who's out there making sure everybody's lined up right, calling plays, things like that?
It's a combination of the middle backer and the field side safety for us. So.
And so in that case, that would be Brecken.
Yeah, that's Brecken's a piece of it, and but right now it's everybody's trying to learn. That's the part of it. We've got a lot of stuff that's in.
Yeah.
So and we're practicing extremely hard, and we got to do a better job of communicating. There was quite a few plays last year that I saw on film that we get a little bit fatigued and didn't get lined up, and you get beat, and that happens, and just to the extent of not beating ourselves, and that's. That's stamina, that's training, that's communication, and all those things that are not X's and O's. That's the biggest part that we're working on.
Right.
Being able to go hard all the time, to be able to be physical all the time, to be able to communicate all the time. Those are the things that give you a chance to play good defense.
Right. They went to a wristband system, back half of the year.
Yeah,
they couldn't get the plays called right.
Well, it's part of the training. And it's part about understanding, the package and how to get lined up in those things. So, I'm not going to get into last year.
Sure.
I mean, to me, it's about what we're doing right now and trying to address what we're deficient in. There's a lot of times you go into it and you kind of hide around it, and you think you're going to put some magic dust on something and make it better. When when you're looking at issues, you're always looking at it from a standpoint of fundamentals, technique, and overall effort. Those are the things we're really, really stressing right now, and the scheme will take care of itself.
What amount of time we've seen you've rotated a couple guys through at first and corner? Is that still kind of like an evaluation?
Yeah, it is. I mean, to me, it's doing, it's a way to keep those guys on their toes and to make sure that technically and fundamentally they're doing things the right way. And we're decently deep there, so you're able to do that part of it. But you're going to see some different people in there. It's not going to be. Malik Jefferson's not playing well, but Malik's going to stay in there. No, Malik's going to be on the bench. okay? And we're going to put somebody in there that specifically is for that day is going to play. So it's creating competition and stressing that every day that you go out in that field, ourselves included as coaches, you're being evaluated every day. And you're going to have your moments, and we understand that part of it. But if your moments turn into hours, then we've got an issue. And I think that's what we're trying to teach them too. You have to be consistently good, and you have to work at it all the time.
How is Malcolm taken to defensive end?
Good. I mean, there's some things that we can do with him, but he's been really good. You know, we watch him in inside run. He's a strong kid. He's got some grit to him. I think he, you know, it's just polishing him. You know, he's still a young guy, man. And so it's just continue on. I'd like to see him get a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger, but he has a nice couple 4 days right now.
When you go through the install, at what point, I don't know if it's spring, summer, fall camp, whatever, at what point do you kind of hope to look at this group and look at the way they're running and say, okay, they get it, they know?
Oh, yeah, it's going to take a while. I mean, when you go into spring, I would say really when we get to about practice 10, I think practice 10 is like when we can sit back and say, okay, we're not great at this, you know, because you don't want to fit somebody into a call that they just can't get. Right. So it's one thing to run something at Houston, another thing to run it at Texas. So that practice 10 is we're going to sit back and say, hey, you know what, I like this based on who we are. And if there's another wrinkle that we like, we'll put it in. But I think that's when we'll get a true evaluation. It's usually what you end up seeing is probably the third scrimmage where you actually see what you have. You know, the first scrimmage is kind of everybody's nervous. Nobody, you know, abandons fundamentals and techniques because we're away from them. Second scrimmage gets a little bit better, and the third scrimmage is the one where you really get a chance to know what you have.
Are there things that Hager does that you know are middle linebacker type instincts? And is it natural or is it something that's...
There's parts of it that are natural, but the contact part is what I'm looking for. And that's it. I mean, you have to have somebody in there that wants to run and hit. And at the end of the day, when I look at him and I look at Eric and I look at those guys, I say to myself, out of our group, who are those people? And that's how we have to, we're not going to go into the season with a soft middle linebacker. It's just not going to happen. So whoever ends up being the toughest kid, the kid that's going to be the most physical, play in and play out, is going to line up there when we play, you know, eventually play Maryland. Yep. So that's the approach that we always go into this. Part of it is that position should be the quarterback of the defense. He should be the toughest guy. Everybody should respect him. He should go extremely hard all the time and be vocal. So that's kind of the prereq that you look for when you're trying to fill in that spot.
Is Nelson working at defensive end?
Is Nelson?
Chris Nelson?
He is not. He's working as an end. I shouldn't say that because he is working. He's working in the same spot opposite of Malcolm.
There's so much that's been made about Malcolm since the second he signed on in Texas. Are you seeing him? Is he the leader for you guys on defense?
Well, I wouldn't say he's the leader. I think there's things that, you know, I think he can be a pro more, and I think Coach Giles would agree with that too. Just in terms of the day in, day out of recovery, weight room, all the little things that make you into a great player. I'm not ready to anoint him yet. I'm just not, because I've seen that, especially younger guys, that you start talking about him, all of a sudden they kind of drop their guard. I don't want him to do that. I just want him to keep continually get better, take steps forward, and he has. He has. Since the first time we lined up with no pads, second day in pads, I still saw him do some really good things in inside run. So he's on course to do it. It's just, you just have to be very mindful, because 19-year-old kids are very fragile, and you start speaking highly of them, and next thing you know, they'll let you down. And I don't think that's him, but I'm always mindful of it.
Coach, can you talk about the decision to move Bonnie from cornerback to safety? Like, what did you see, and let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I just think, you know, when you watch last year's film and some of the things he struggled with in terms of his skill set, I just think it's more natural for him. I really do. I just gives him an opportunity to play on, you know, at a high level in a position that we believe, because he adds some range to there. You know, he's kind of in between corner safety part of it, and he was out there last year and he gritted through it. But from our standpoint, I think he's more suited to be a safety, which is going to give us a little bit of range back there in terms of some of the throw game if we play some too deep, if we play some things. And I think he can end up being a decent blitzer for us too. So that's why we made the change.
Why boundary safety for him?
What's that?
Why boundary safety for him?
I just think because it's right now in terms of limited space for him to cover.
Right.
That's what we look for, that position. A lot of times the field side safety has to cover slot receivers in a whole bunch of area. So I think it's just more natural for his skill set.
What do you like about Jordan Elliott?
Jordan's a tough kid, but Jordan's got to work himself into shape. That's the biggest thing that I see with Jordan. They're all big dudes. They really are. We got to trim them down. I mean, it goes back to what Herm talked about a couple weeks ago. We're heavy. We are. In this league, you can't be heavy. And these guys will run you right out of the stadium. So we're just trimming all these guys down, and there's going to be a rotation there. But like I always say beforehand, you want to play your best guys about 75% of the time. You're going to have to sub guys in there because everybody gets tired. But his reps will be, they'll be on how much he's in shape. He really will. So if he wants to play 35% of the game, then he's got to get his tail in gear. If he's going to be 20%, is he going to be 10%? So that's what we're trying to stress to those guys.
What have you seen from
Who
Wilbon?
Who are you liking at field safety right now?
Well, I think he's doing a nice job.
Deshaun?
Yeah. And he's been impressive to me.
Really?
He really has, yeah. I mean, that kid gives us everything he has. You know, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for us, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's Knives done a really good job. Coach Kniver's done a really good job with that crew back there. And Coach Washington, they're working with the corners, and we've got some talent now. There's no doubt back there. We've got some talent. But there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and those guys run the show. You know, they make the communication calls, get lined up, and I've been impressed for what they've done. PJ's another guy. I mean, they've been great people, great kids, man. They've completely bought in. They're trying their hearts out. They take coaching, and you know, I like being around them too, man. They're fun kids.
Do you need with as much nickel as you play?
Mm-hmm.
How much have you seen that position change, that nickel back position change over the last 5-10 years with everybody running spread? And what do you like about PJ Lockett, that nickel?
Well, I think one thing, I love PJ as a kid. So if something goes down, I can go to him, and he's one of those guys that will read our body language. So if he knows that we're upset, you know, he's going to address things with the group. He's been that way since the first day I met him. He's explosive when he blitzes. He can cover, and he adds a dynamic of physicality too. So I mean, when we watched him on film, he was probably the most impressive kid, like play in and game out. When we watched him, we said, "Man, this guy shows up all over the place. I wonder how he's going to be for us." And he has not disappointed, man. He's a great kid.
Coach, I have to ask how having the Undertaker in practice was.
That's pretty cool.
Was he scary? What did he say?
No, he talked about his story. You know, that was really cool. He grinded his way to get to where he was at, and he's very prideful. He's very proud of us. You know, even though we weren't that successful in the last couple of years, he says he still talks to people all the time. And I think the really good thing that he said to us, because he had a chance, we had a little circle drill, and then he talked to us, it was like he thought he could feel the energy, and he could feel a little bit of the change. And I thought our kids kind of took that as, you know, we're starting to flip this thing over, and that was the one thing that I took from it.
Thanks, Coach.
That's good.
Good. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.